We are now ready to continue our path of working through material on Chapter 1. This video will include a brief discussion of body systems and how they relate to each other. There are 11 organ systems in a human body. You should have covered these on a general level already earlier, so we will revise these only quickly. You will learn more about each of these in more detail later in this and next BIO202 course. Let's start with integumentary system. This is a strange sounding word, isn't it? This includes the skin and its associated structures, hair and nails. This system forms the external body coverings, protecting the deeper tissues from injuries. But this is not the only function that it has. For example, vitamin D synthesis plays an important role for your well-being. Also, sensing pain, pressure, and so on is important for your survival. We respond based on this information. And let's not forget the sweat and oil glands. Both are very important, for example, in temperature regulation and protecting our outer surfaces against harmful microbes, and of course, to keep the material we want to keep inside us. Without skin, we would quickly dry up here in Arizona. The next system that we are going to talk about is the skeletal system. First of all, it gives us a scaffolding or a framework to which muscles can attach so that they can generate movement by shortening. And don't forget that the skeleton protects and supports many of our organs, for example, enclosing the brain and the lungs and heart inside it. These are vital organs that we need, so our body is designed to do our best to protect them. You might be surprised to learn that, for example, blood cells are formed within bones. And bones are important in storing minerals too. Next is muscular system. It allows us to move and manipulate environment. And of course, our facial expressions play an important role in our communication. Other important functions that muscular system has are maintenance of posture and, like you learned in our example of homeostasis, heat production. The next system that I want to talk about is the nervous system. This is a fast-acting control system that responds to internal and external changes. Remember again our example of thermoregulation when we talked about homeostasis. The nervous system does this through activating organs of other systems when necessary, like muscles and glands. These four systems are the focus of our BIO201 course this semester. We will talk about each of them in more detail, and by the end of this term, you will master all things about them. Then, as you move on to BIO202, you will be covering the rest in more detail. But let's have a quick look of them now nonetheless. We will start BIO202 by looking at endocrine system. It is another difficult word, but fear not. In reality, it is quite simple to think of it as our glands that secrete hormones. These hormones can be many kind and serve many different functions, such as regulating growth, reproduction, metabolism of the body. The following system on our agenda will be the cardiovascular. For this one, the Q is in the name. It is all about the heart and the blood vessel system that carries the blood to and from the heart to the rest of the body. And, of course, the blood itself. Blood carries oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, wastes, and so on. It really is a big one to get familiar with, and one of my favorite ones. For many years, my work as a medical imaging scientist focused on studying the heart and developing novel ways of measuring the damage and recovery potential of the heart tissue, all in a living person. So I have some good stories to share about it. Next, we will look at the lymphatic system and immunity. It seems to me that this is often the system that students are less familiar with. You can consider lymphatic system as a complementary system that drains whatever leaks out of the blood vessels, a little like your drains for the water pipes. It has also an important role in picking up unwanted materials and especially importantly housing the white blood cells which play a key role in the immunity. It is the immune responses that detect and attack foreign substances in your body. Let's talk next about the respiratory system. This system includes the lungs and the airways all the way to the opening to the outside world through mouth and nose, oral and nasal cavities. The main function of this system is to keep blood supplied with oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide. The gas exchange happens through thin walls of the last part of the lungs known as alveoli. Okay, let's talk about food, and in particular, digestive system that processes this food. This system is responsible for taking in the food, breaking it into small absorbable units, and getting rid of any ingestible waste left behind. Well, now urinary system serves another path for eliminating the wastes from our body. Especially, it regulates the blood composition, water, electrolyte, and pH balance. Finally, the reproductive systems are the last system that we have not yet discussed. In fact, it is the only system out of these that you can live without. Of course, males and females differ. For males, it is all about the producing sperm cells and male sex hormones. Females instead have a little bit more of a responsibility as they do not only produce the egg cell and female sex hormones, but also have structures that serve as sites for fertilization and growth of the fetus. And that's not all. Of course, we also have the mammary glands that produce milk to nourish the newborn. So, there you have it, a short summary of all the body systems that you will become familiar with, either during this or the following BIO202 course. What I want to highlight is, though, that none of these systems exists alone. They are all interlinked and dependent on each other and contribute to each other. So even when we use this systemic approach, where we look at each system one at a time, please remember that they are all very much linked together. I have prepared this neat little summary that shows some of these connections, and it will be available on your Blackboard materials. So, that is all from me on this video. Join me on the next one, where we will be looking at regional and directional terminology, body planes, and cavities.